Yo, what's going on, homies? It's your boy Stumped, back from the OPTC video. In today's video, the Super Boss for Luffy and Law is upon us. And in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the non-new badge teams to take down the 15-star Super Boss event. So this particular fight, it's kind of designed for driven characters. It's really pushing the elders specifically, and obviously the new Don Quixote Doflamingo character that is available for the Kizuna Legend Summon. However, today, I'm not using Doffy in my teams. Basically the teams you guys will see today, essentially that last unit besides that, like, well, the 6th unit on the team with the 5 elders will stereotypically be Doflamingo with the Bellamy support. But today, like I said, I feel like a lot of people summoned for the elders because they're Super Sugos, but you could easily sort of skip Doflamingo because, like, this is just like a regular Kizuna. So hopefully these teams help you out. We'll talk about some replacements today and break down the fights. I did already put up like short and stuff with these particular teams as well, but I have tweaked them just a little bit. So hopefully this particular video helps you out. Let me know in the comment section below if you guys are looking for replacements. Belt like button, hit the subscribe button, do all that good stuff. With that said, let's dive in. All right, so we're going to start off with the strength variation, and as you can see, for both these teams, we are using all 5 of the elders. The friend captain will be Saturn for both of these fights. However, if you don't have Peter and you have Saturn, you just bring your own Saturn and bring a friend captain Peter. It's pretty self-explanatory in that regard. On battle 1, driven, powerhouse, and cerebral character get the good stuff. Battle 2's normal attacks only, 3 turns of defense up. Top and middle row gets special bind. All healing gets turned to damage. 25% HP cut, 5 turns of a burn. If you do any Brook shenanigans, you just basically die. And if you set chain multiplier for 1 time, you remove all your beneficial effects. And basically, all orbs will have a 90% attack down. On defeat, there's a full recovery, retreat, and then after 1 turn, you get all of the bad stuff where you lose all your potential abilities. On battle 3, there's full immunity, the blowaway shenanigans, and Luffy and Law is weak to driven. Preemptive is 10 turns of middle row binds, so you're gonna have to deal with 7 turns after sockets. Normal attacks only, and intimidation. If you use any base attack boost, you lose it by 1 turn, as well as an attack boost based on damage reduction percentage. The enemy puts up a territory, and if you use quick orbs, you get a 90% attack down. 5 turns of chain lock at 1.1, and all orbs get turned to quick orbs as well. Attack down by 90% if you're less than a 2.0 chain, and then the enemy puts up a strength super type. If you do any Brook stuff, you get a whole bunch of bad stuff, and then if you delay, the enemy puts up a quick slot barrier for 4 quick slots, only for 1 time, but it's only 1 turn, 10 turns of defense up, and then it does a reduced action turn. So essentially what this means is basically it just removes said delay, if I remember correctly. So that's a little bit annoying, but I think should be able to get around it with what's it called? I think, well, actually, looking at this now, I don't actually know if the delay conditional is going to work, but at the end of the day, like, it's not the end of the world. After 1 turn, 6 turns of attack down, and then normal attacks only. So you're gonna have to deal with that as well, depending if you can even, you know, tank 1 turn after that. So that's something to note. So looking at the team, like I said, we are using Saturn as a friend captain. We do have Peter here as our captain, and remember, these teams are always subject to change. We'll see sort of how they rock, how they roll. If you have the new Don Quixote character, you basically just put that Don Quixote character in the spot where Zoro is. The new Bellamy support obviously helps out a lot with the defense up, and you can just bink that on turn 2. However, we're not using Doflamingo, so we're resolved to using this particular Zoro. He's free to play. Oh no, he's not. He's the rare recruit that came out like forever ago. He's going to give you 5 turns of special bind removal, which is great for that middle row, and then with the Cure Shira support, he can remove 4 turns of defense up, which is enough to take down the defense up there as well. Another really good option is you have Black Maria, the regular rare recruit. You can definitely use her, or you can basically just use anyone that removes special bind and then just like slap a support on there. That should work out pretty hunky-dory. On the final stage, we get a full ward of quick orbs, and our middle row gets binded. The character to remove the bind here is Walkery. Walkery can remove like 20 turns of blind or something stupid, and then he also gives you a 5 times attack boost, which is really, really nice. 5 times color affinity boost, sorry, which is really, really nice. Ideally though, you want to sort of use his ability to increase the conditional buff, but the problem with this particular team is when you delay, the enemy does that 99%, like 99 turns of like enrage, which I believe will remove the delay. So Mars here, it's kind of replaceable, but the thing with Mars is he removes the chain lock by 10 turns, and then he also gives you a chain boundary. He also gives you a full board of tandem orbs, and he's the super tandem character for this particular team. But so like even without his conditional buff live, like, you're still going to be getting a lot out of this particular character. The downside to the unit is that he delays, obviously, so then that way you just have to deal with that. Once you delay, the enemy puts up the 10 turns of defense up. The thing with Mars is too, by the way, he actually increases color affinity boost. So if the delay doesn't work, you can use Walkery first, then use the special of Mars to increase the color affinity, so you just get a little bit more value out of that. Once you do delay, though, the enemy puts up that the barrier and then puts up the defense up. Mars can also remove said barrier, which is really, really nice. With the EX super, you can remove 1 turn of barriers there, which is awesome. But if you are using Doflamingo over Zoro, you're going to get that delay after 1 turn, which isn't going to trigger said passive. So then that way, like, you're still going to get this conditional buff there. So the team just works way better if you have Doflamingo and Bellamy. Like, that's just sort of the bottom line. Ethan's here to remove the defense up that eventually gets inflicted. And remember, he does a 5 times attack and orb boost to himself, as well as doing set target, provided you don't have a side character set as the support. The thing about Ethan is, though, you want to make sure you use him after using Saturn and Peter. Now, Saturn and Peter, the best order to do them is to use Saturn first, then activate the EX of Ethan to allow you to get a double stacking attack boost. Then use Peter to give yourself an orb boost and increase Saturn's attack boost. Or you could... No, yeah, you definitely want to do it that way. You'll increase the attack boost to 7.5, provided you do all your action specials fine. You also get a powerhouse territory with Peter as well, which is awesome. And then you use the Ethan special after that to turn the orb boost into a 10 times orb boost, and then a 12.5 times attack boost. You'll have a driven territory, a powerhouse territory, set target, like I said, 12.5 times attack boost, 10 times orb boost, something ridiculous like a 7.5 color affinity buff, and then potentially the what's it called? Potentially you'll have the conditional buff too. You also have chain boundary, increased damage taken thanks to Walkery, and a super tandem boost, as well as a final tap rush with Saturn. So the idea with this particular team is you want to sort of go Ethan, Mars, Peter into Zoro, Walkery, finishing with Saturn there. So then that way you can get the most out of your damage numbers. I have the Garling support on Mars just to give a final tap buff. The actual final tap buff just means that Saturn is going to hit a little bit harder, so that should work out pretty hunky-dory. You also have chain boost as well, chain shenanigans. Like, this team, like the Elders team hits so fucking hard, man. Like, it's absolutely wild, especially when you're looking at like 150 stats and all of the like super 10 level 5, rush level 5, the ability to break the damage cap, all that craziness that they can provide as well. So that's the team that I'm looking at. I don't really see a team being better than the Elders. But if you do have if you have none of the Elders and you have the Quick Luffy, I feel like you could definitely build something out with Quick Luffy here. So that's something to note. If you are missing, say, Ethan, for example, Ethan's only really here to just get the most out of the Elders. He's here to remove the defense up, but if you don't delay, then you don't really have to worry about that. So you could replace him with any other defense up removal if you are delaying, or as someone that sets defense to 0. Ideally, you'd want it to be another Elder character, but at the same time, beggars can't be choosers when it comes to that sort of stuff as well. If you don't have Walkery's just basically here to remove bind, so you can just completely remove him with a bind removal that also probably does color affinity. That would be the best bet. Peter and Saturn, whilst they're fantastic captains, if you don't have if you have one or the other, you're laughing because you can just chop and change. But if you're missing both, then realistically you probably maybe want to run Ethan as a captain, and then you just don't have to worry about using the Walkery special for the bind, and you can do some fun stuff there. But this is kind of what we're working with at the moment. Again, subject to change, but hopefully this sort of core will help you guys figure out something. Now, moving on to the next fight, this one is a little bit interesting because there's a couple of ways you can do this. If you have, again, the 5 Elders, Powerhouse, Driven, and I think it's Fighters this time. Yeah, Fighters get the cooldowns. Battle 2, there is top row bind, which you only get down to 4 turns. So it is manageable with supports and stuff like that. Because if you remove the bind, you actually have to deal with 3 turns of defense up only 1 time. You also get lock slots, 50% HP card, full body recovery orbs, and then recovery orbs get converted to damage. So make sure you do not eat those recovery orbs because you will actually take damage rather than healing. There's obviously all the Brook shenanigans, and then if you pass a turn, you have to deal with your losing buffs and potential ability removal. On Battle 3, Luffy, Law again, you have the full immunity, blow away, all that fun stuff, weak to driven again. They give you a burn this time, normal attacks only. They put up a Sile Int super type, 7 turns of chain growth rate at 0.1, 1 turn of special limit for 2 times, 7 turns of damage reduction, 7 turns of threshold, a territory. They have the Brook shenanigans, and if you use any type effect boost, the enemy is going to turn to a Psy character, which really isn't that big of a deal, to be honest, and I'll explain why. But if you also use an attack boost based on damage reduction, you lose all your beneficial effects, and after 1 turn, you have to deal with paralysis. So, there's that. Also, something I forgot to mention here too, if you want to do some stuff with like a 2-turn burst, I don't really know exactly how that looks with the elders, but after 1 turn you get 6 turns of attack down, so you could use the EX of Saturn to remove the attack down on the 2nd turn and see if you can do some fun stuff with some 2-turn bursts. Same with this particular team, you can use the EX of Peter on the 2nd turn to remove the paralysis and do some fun stuff there. But the idea of this particular team, on turn 2 we actually have a bunch of supports and the ship to help us take care of the bind. Now again, if you have Doflamingo and the Bellamy support, like, you're going to be absolutely fine because you can just like use Walkery with the bind, have the Bellamy support on Doflamingo, use the Doflamingo special, extend the color affinity, remove the defense up, and Bob's your uncle hunky dory, you're off to the races. But if you remove the bind via supports or other abilities and then don't use a special, it actually doesn't trigger that interrupt. So we have the Otama support on Big Mom, we have the Bao Hung support on Mars, and then I have a ship. You can use the Merry Go, the Coated Sunny, or you can use the Tesoro ship to remove 1 turn of bind, and that way you actually get around it. Now, if you have the Coated Thousand Sunny, you could definitely use that instead of like Bao Hung, and then you have 4 turns and you have a little bit more room on this particular team. I actually would recommend probably slapping on Garling as well. If you have Garling, just again, that final tap buff is actually really, really nice. But I think you have to be special bound actually, now that I'm thinking about it, and we don't actually get special bind. Or do we? Did we get special bind on stage 2? No, we don't. Okay, so Garling's not going to work. Never mind, so scratch that. So turn 2, you're just letting your supports do the thing, and then you can basically just tap through. There's really nothing too crazy happening turn 2, but the whole idea here is that if you can't kill with nothing, then you are going to struggle just a little bit. The upside is you get a full body recovery orbs, and with Peter as your captain, he actually makes them matching, so you can do some fun stuff there. On the final stage, we have Big Mom for a double conditional buff. She's going to burn as well, which is awesome. Peter and Saturn, respectively, remove the damage reduction and the threshold. Again, if you don't have Peter, you can just swap over with Saturn and then bring a friend Captain Peter. And if you want to try and do some shenanigans with 2-turn bursts, which, again, I don't think is, like, super viable with these types of characters, because realistically they're only doing like attack boost and stuff for 1 turn, if I remember correctly. They do boost driven based on the cost of the crew for maximum value of, it doesn't say. Yeah, so it says for 1 turn, actually just like hidden in there right there. So I don't really know how viable a 2-turn burst will be with these guys. Plus they have like that ability, like if you have a look at them here, like Orkery and Peter both have this ability to break the damage cap. So just having that extra 50% driven resistance, it's just going to be, it's going to be so valuable to try and just like do as much damage as possible. So I don't recommend doing the 2-turn burst, but like they do give you the option to try some fun stuff there. For the color affinity buff, now remember, if you use the color affinity buff, the enemy is going to turn from an in character to a side character. Now this is not the end of the world for this team respectively, because you can still just use the rush of Saturn last and have the rainbow color affinity with Saturn instead of using the final type of Ethan. However, if you can find a way to sort of like, again with Doflamingo, to extend that color affinity boost, then you don't have to worry about the type change. You can use the rush first of Saturn, do the super tandem with Mars, and then move into like Walkery, and then like final tap with Ethan, which might do more damage. I always find like a final tap rush is just better than a final tap overall, but with boost stats, all that funky shenanigans, we might see some fun stuff there and see what happens. Because again, if you have like Bellamy and Doflamingo, like you can just replace Big Mom here, and then you just like do this easier. You can bring a better ship and then you're just off to the races. Mars is obviously going to give you a full body tandem orbs. He's the super tandem character. He removes the attack, the chain coefficient reduction, gives you chain boundary, all that fun stuff. Again, you want to use the Saturn special, then use the Peter special, the EX of Ethan, and then use the Ethan special, so you get the 10 times attack, 12.5 times attack, and then 10 times orb buff. Works out super hunky-dory there. You have the 100% resistance, you have the set target, you have the chain boost, chain boundary, increased damage taken with Walkery, and again, you're off to the races with this particular team. So if you are missing Walkery, you can just replace him with like a 3-tone color affinity would be more ideal. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any, but look, if you can think of one, just chuck one on the team. Otherwise, you can always just chuck on any high color affinity booster. That's what Walkery is doing here. Or if you have the new Lucci, for example, the new Lucci could just sort of slot in for Walkery, and then just give the increased damage taken, and you just like forebode color affinity, or maybe run like Saturn as your captain with the Moria support for color affinity as a support, and then you're not triggering that ability either. So there's other ways of getting around that too. Big Mom's kind of here just because she not only does she do a double conditional buff, but the real big reason she's here is to remove the special limit. So this particular ability here, so you just need like level 1 on her, so you don't even need to have her with dupes or whatnot. But that double conditional boost is just so valuable with the Otama support. If you guys do not have like Otama support, or if you're missing other stuff, you could replace her with another character that does that ability to remove the special limit. But you're gonna have to try and find a way to bring some blind removing supports. Or you could do something like this, and like if you're really struggling with the blind, and just slap Ethan on as your captain. You're gonna lose a lot of damage here. Just be mindful of that, because like Peter and Saturn as captains, getting that 10 times attack and 10 times orbs, it's like it's freaky, man. Like it's absolutely wild how much extra damage that actually is. On top of that, they're super effective against all types. Like the rainbow damage just provides so much more as well. But Ethan as a captain, it can definitely work. Like you definitely can do that as well. So as for replacement for Mars, like Mars provides so much to the Elders team. Not so much for the chain shenanigans, but the fact that he's the super tandem character is just so big. Losing a super tandem makes it very, very hard, and then you kind of have to like change the makeup of the entire team. But again, we're here to talk Elders, and these are the sort of teams that we're rocking. But hopefully this video helps you guys out, or just like makes life easy for you if you just come building Super Boss. It's a little bit boring this season because obviously like we're just using the Elder characters, and then if you have the new Doflamingo with Bellamy, throw him in the mix too, and then you just got this like a one team that beats both. But hey, here we are putting out content for you guys. Make sure to belt the notification bell so you guys don't miss out on any of the playthroughs as well. Hit the subscribe button if you're new, and if this video did help you out anyway, hit the like button as well. But most importantly, wherever you guys are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, thank you all for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one. Later!